at the same time of the transformation process that we need to deal with all the step A, step B, step C, we need to also deal with the attrition problem of the organization, and that is so painful. CEOs also swamped with all the demands, and they might think that sales and marketing and operations are more urgent than this kind of initiative. So how to get their buy-in? I think first one, we need to be very smart strict. We need to make it right in terms of timing. CEOs are all about bottom line. So if they don't see how HR initiative, boost, let's say, bring up revenue, cut cost, grab market share, then there's gonna be a no-go. Organization is not ready enough. So they don't think that it's time for them to look at it and start upskilling and reskilling their workforce. Workforce transformation involves not only L&D or HR. It should be a shared responsibility of the whole department from top down, from the board, the leadership team, and not the HR solely. When people are not aware of what is happening, they don't know why the business need to have this kind of change, urgency, rushing. And that's why they usually focus on the technical aspect of the transformation rather than, the human element. Not only to equip employees with the skills they require to succeed in the evolving workplace, such as digital literacy, critical thinking, and adaptability. I think another thing is about the trust and credibility. If the CEO doesn't trust HR judgment, right, they will never say yes. Maybe it's a past mistake from the former HR, or they just see HR as administrative function and not a business strategic partner. I totally agree with you that you need to be a big fan of your organization in order to create more followers, more fans, so that they can be joining you in making the organization a greater, workplace. We are talking about a new initiative. Talk about why we need to do that. Address the why first with the decision maker. What are the pain points that we are facing with in the organization right now that need the L&D to invest in? The why is addressed throughout the organization, very clearly, very transparently by the top leaders team to each and every single employee. Start to address what is the shortage of our workforce. Start to investing in upskilling what is needed for the business growth. Whatever you tell him, you need to deliver the results. Work the talk.
How do you define when someone like CEO asks you, what do you do?
Hi, CEO.
Hi.
I think I'm a gardener, tending to the delicate ecosystem of the workplace. I'm the one who loves to nurture talent without negativity and ensure a environment, and ensure a fertile environment for growth. I'm passionate in cultivating culture where collaboration blooms, and innovation thrive, and every talent can feel valued and respected.
I like the way you mentioned about the gardener part, because a lot of HR professionals still think that it's more about administration, but you actually mentioned about a garden work. So we're living in a very interesting space right now. We call it VUCA or AI, a lot of topic we're talking about. And in this space, you've been in this workforce transformation space for so long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we come back to the core of it and talk about why do we need workforce transformation in companies now?
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the question, John. I think I'm so fortunate, working for organizations that focused on workforce transformation, although it's, to be honest, a very demanding field. I think there's a couple of reasons why we need to have the workforce transformation. Firstly, we talked about technological advancements nowadays, right? Automation, artificial intelligence. Those are fundamentally, changing work. Companies must adopt by upskilling and reskilling the workforce and restructuring to remain agile and resilient during the phase of disruption and the shortage of skill set. So that's the number one reason. Secondly, I think the evolving expectation of the younger generation, like millennials and Gen Z, they prioritize flexibility, continuous learning, and the purpose-driven work. Workforce transformation can help create an environment, to give them a more engaging and fulfilling workplace. And the third reason, and I think that is a fundamental reason, transformation is about maintaining competitiveness. I think workforce transformation is a strategic imperative for enhancing productivity, driving innovation, improving customer satisfaction, attracting and retaining talents, and that also enabling companies to thrive in a dynamic global landscape.
You mentioned some really powerful aspect into it, like one of the big insight coming from Big Four, they're saying this one, in next 2 years, 80% people will be displaced in what work they're doing right now. And it's typically happening in the both side of the company and also the employee side. So on one side, employee really need to find a better way of reskilling themselves and be more relevant. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that we don't need people anymore. We need just different kind of people. And the company, also you mentioned about competitiveness, right? The company also need to come up with a better model to actually find out what skill really need, when they really need it, and how easily and how cheapest way they can onboard those talent in the company too. Because at the end of the day now, everything needs to be much cheaper to be more convenient because people are finding a way to spend less. People are more financially educated than any time ever before. Mm-hmm. Then on social media, magic happened, like everybody is much more well educated about their finance than anybody else before. So that's come with a very interesting aspect. So thank you for laying out all those things. So now we're in a very interesting space right now. We talk about all the transformation thing happening, and all those people need to be skilled, combining different kind of skill sets. So now it goes back to the main department in human resources, which is learning and development department right now. So now, what do you think that should be the top 3 goals for this learning and development department to make it a successful transition for their company, and so they can take that advantage and also avoid all kind of competitive toughness for the company as well?
Yeah. I think L&D has so many goals, but if we are to talk about the top 3 goals, it's going to be the first one. The L&D goals need to be aligned with the business goals. L&D initiative should directly contribute to the organization's strategic objective. This involves understanding the company's priorities and designing programs that address specific skill gaps and support business growth. It means that L&D teams must be very close to the overall business strategy. This is to ensure that training efforts are relevant and impactful, leading to measurable improvements in performance and productivity, and also provides a clear return on investment. The second goal is to foster a culture of continuous learning. Like I just mentioned in the earlier part, John, regarding the expectation of the younger generations, they prioritize continuous learning. So that is so crucial to create an environment where employees are, encouraged to learn and grow throughout their careers. This involves promoting a growth mindset and providing access to diverse learning opportunities. This means making learning accessible and desirable. This goal will certainly help organizations adapt to change, stay competitive, and attract and retain top talent. And it also boosts, employee engagement and also job satisfaction. The third goal is to develop, the future-ready skills. The focus is not only to equip employees with the skills they require to succeed in the evolving workplace, such as digital literacy, critical thinking, and adaptability. This includes also staying ahead of technological trends and predicting future skills needs to ensure that the workforce remains agile and capable of meeting future challenges and opportunities. It also prepares employees for career advancement and enhances their employability.
Tiffany, you mentioned about multiple times about the importance of this skilling and upskilling and getting the right skill sets to create an advantage in the workforce. But often a lot of L&D or even HR department is mentioning they always have very little budget to make the things happen. Even their request about from the CEO often turned down because the company want to cut the budgets. This is one of the first list company cutting when it comes to HR budget cuts. How do you look into that one, and what should be the L&D doing to actually tackle this problem in your perspective?
I think it's not only happening to L&D, it's also happening to a lot of other HR initiatives. When you are trying to sell your HR initiative, which is something brand new that you want to bring into the organization, right? You need to sell that idea to the decision maker, who are the CEO of the company. And if the way that you are selling the idea is not good enough, and those are conflicting with the priorities of the business, conflicting with the demand of the CEO, your budget is going to be cut very easily. So it's not always happening with the L&D. One of the techniques that I usually do, or guiding my team to do, is that we need to bring up the pain point of the organization. Whenever we are, talking about a proposal, we are talking about a new initiative. Talk about why we need to do that. Address the why first with the decision maker. What are the pain points that we are facing with in the organization right now that need the L&D to invest in order to prepare for an appropriate budget from the beginning of the year?
We know that workforce transformation is really, really important, and L&D has a big game to play in this things, in this transformation. But there's so many statistics coming out. Even let's say in Vietnam, last 2 years, we find out almost 60 to 70% transformation initiative, particularly workforce transformation initiative, did not really call it a success. Even sold it as a success, maybe a little more, but in reality, according to the employee and the business performance, it did not see a success. So in your perspective, then, why? What are the top 3 reasons is actually this workforce transformation initiative is failing in Vietnam?
In your question, John, you just mentioned that L&D is an important element, undertaking the workforce transformation or HR. I would like to, change a little bit in the mindset here, because workforce transformation involves not only L&D or HR. It should be a shared responsibility of the whole department, from top down, from the board, the leadership team, and not the HR solely. So if we talk about the common pitfalls that HR or the organization might be facing with, I think first and foremost, based on my own observations, right, I've noticed organization usually, there's lack of communication and a structured, change management plan in place. When people are not aware of what is happening They don't know why the business need to have this kind of change. They think that everything is going on well. Why we need to change? And they start asking questions without any answers, right? So rumors start to spread out. So in order to avoid, all the anxiety, ambiguity, disruption, I think one of the key things is that we need to make sure that the why is addressed throughout the organization very clearly, very transparently by the top leaders team to each and every single employees. And we need to put in place a very structured and strategic change management plan. So this is the very first, potential mistake that organizations usually make. The second one, I think, like we mentioned, why we need a workforce transformation. Nowadays, we talk a lot about digitalization, automation, AI. So those are technological advancements, right? The thing is that the organizations are not ready for those kind of, ChatGPT, these kind of new things coming, but organization is not ready enough. So they don't think that it's time for them to look at it and start upskilling and reskilling their workforce. Be aware of what is happening in the market. Look at the workforce. Do a thorough skill gaps analysis and start to address what is the shortage of our workforce. Start to investing in upskilling. The third potential pitfall, I think, organization, when they start doing the workforce transformation, it's usually when things start to, when there is a red flag, and it's more about corrective actions rather than preventive actions. And as such, it put everything into a situation of, urgency, rushing. And that's why they usually focus on the technical aspect of the transformation rather than, the human element. During the transformation process, they focus so much on what is the final results, what is the expected outcome of the transformation process. That reminds me, the place where I used to work for, there's a drastic transformation in the company. And we as a leadership team are communicated at the very last stages, and later on we have it cascaded down to the team with all of these FAQ and the actionable items that the leadership team and all the people need to follow, following the guidance from global and then regional offices, without any chances for them to raise a voice, without any chances for them to start to digest things and start to look at things that it needs to be changed. So when it comes to the employees, they are already panicked. And that's why they feel very disengaged, not motivated at all. They start to get in an anxiety zone, and they start to look for other opportunities outside. And the turnover ratio is increasingly, very crazy. So at the same time of the transformation process that we need to deal with all the step A, step B, step C, we need to also deal with the attrition problem of the organization, and that is so painful.
You mentioned some really interesting point. You mentioned about the why. So it's interestingly, we've done a research about this one, why organization runs the transformation, and then how much employee actually know about the transformation transformations, why? And we found some interesting insights, which I can share with you. So, why actually the organization running the workforce transformation? So we found out this almost 80% of the organization typically running the workforce transformation for two particular things. One, they're aiming to reduce their less profitability business, or they want to grow the profit margin into the business. Mm-hmm. So these are the two typical 80% organization is driving forward. And now, yes, these are the two reasons. It could be one of the reasons they often sugarcoat the communications to the overall workforce. So now I will tell you the another research. So if you just split the whole workforce, so basically in two segments, basically middle managers to upper than middle manager and middle manager and lower. If you do that one, so anybody from over the middle manager to the top, almost like 60% of those executives know why they are running the workforce transformation. And anybody from middle manager to below executive levels, almost 80% of them, they actually why they are running workforce transformation. But they have only have a very common thing, fear inside of them. They probably will be losing their job too. So now it's a very interesting space, right? Because when you look at the data, this is often shocking. Like it's a communication problem, and they often don't. I mean, many of the organization HR has a big challenging situation to actually how to communicate with them better too. I think this is one of the space a lot of work needs to be done, and probably an organization also need to find a better why to actually even run the workforce transformation as well too. Since 2020. In COVID-19 bring us the business in a pretty interesting space where one of the top of the town in business right now is about the budget. And when you talk about the budgets, typically one of the high search keyword in HR space is about budget cut and budget estimation. So now we go around and talk to different HR leaders and see this one, how they're actually budgeting their HR budgets. Because one of the main challenges, they get a pushback from the CEO or even the shareholder or the business owner that why we have to spend so much money on top of the employee salary. So now we go back and we run a specific research on different HR professionals, and we found an interesting stat. We found that only 10 to 20% of the HR professional actually use a specific proper standard framework or even consult with an external expert consultant to help them to do a proper budgeting. So that means almost 80% of the HR professionals just budgeting based on their feeling or their previous experiences, and because they feel like it's probably going to be the right number. So I want to ask you on this one, Tiffany, why HR professionals only typically following their gut feeling when they have all the external frameworks, experts available outside of them? Why they're not really utilizing it, and how they can actually overcome it in your perspective?
Well, so you talk about 10 to 20% of HR leaders only
utilizing it.
Those numbers are shocking to me, right?
It is. I also got shocked when I see the number.
I'm actually not aware of those numbers, to be honest. I think there's a couple of things going on here. The first one, I think it's the awareness. It's the understanding of the data. We might think that the external data are not reliable. We usually, feel more comfortable with our historical data. So that is the very first, I think, reason. You talk about budget. So we talk about costing, right? Saving money, resources constraints, right? I think another reason is that the capability of the team to interpret and translate those benchmarking data from the experts. That is also another reason. Because when you look at the data, you also need to have the potential to read, to translate, and to make an informed decision based on the data. And if you are not equipped with those ability to read those data then it's better to use your historical data where you feel more comfortable and it is very relevant to the business, right? Another thing is that HR usually think that the context of their organization is very unique. And the other expert, the external, expert, they don't have any insights of your business. So the CEO would be asking, why cost a lot of money spending to the outsider who knows nothing about your business? I think the other thing is about the perception of people. People think that, like I also mentioned in the earlier part, things are going on so well. Why we need to change? And why we need to seek for the external benchmark outside of the organization. Just use what we have in hands. So the perception of resistance to change is another thing that HR would usually not prefer to use external data.
How do you overcome these challenges?
Every actions, right? Whatever we do, we need to convince ourselves first why we need to do that. And also, we convey the message to the audience, to the CEO, to the leadership team, to your team, and to the whole organization to answer the why first. What we can do is that we invest in education and training. Maybe we organize workshops and seminars. We invite experts to come to the company for the sharing. We have kind of collaboration and partnerships with the consultancies, with the training providers, to come to the office and share what is happening outside of the organization, right? The best practice that we can leverage, that we can learn from, because no one is perfect. No companies can, run at their best over decades. We need to learn from the market. So knowledge acquisition is also vital. The third one is the investment. I think we need to start putting, the budget, set aside a budget in our budgeting process in order to avoid the lacking of cost when it comes to the stage where you need to acquire the benchmark, the data from the external sources.
You mentioned some very interesting point on this one, Tiffany. The first thing, work developments of the skill developments of the HR professionals. So that's some interesting way we have done another research to see how the HR departments actually spend budget for their own personal development or professional developments. We found out this one, almost 60% HR professionals interested to participate in different personal development activity. And almost 60%, if you take the 60%, almost 80% of them typically go to different conferences. And normally all those conferences, more than half percent of those conferences basically almost are free conferences. So free conference means it's typically organized and information sharing about a particular product and services of the companies. So that is not really helping the HR professionals to actually building the skill set which they really need to interpret those data and the framework which they can actually learn. And we definitely see this one that Pro Academy found there is a big gap into it. Then we started to organize a Pro Research and Strategy, a workshop, we started to organize to help HR directors and HR leaders to think their strategy, pushing their strategy, reimagining and rethink how they really do this one too. And that's one of the issues HR we want to develop everyone, but they often do not focus enough to their own personal development too. So that's one of the things. The second thing you mentioned is about the world is changing and every business spectrum is much more competitive than ever what it used to be before. And that leads to the situation the thing was really, really working and that what's bringing us from there to here, that's definitely not going to take us from here to there, because as a business leader, what every business C-suite level or head of department typically are looking to take the business to the next level. And that's why basically the shareholder, the CEOs and all the C-suite and business directors are being recruited in the company to take the business to the next level. But now the problem is, as the economy bringing more challenge, competitors bringing more challenge into it too. And that's why the company is facing problem how to stay more competitive and moving forward to the next level. And another issue is about, as the landscape is also changing, so the complexity of making this roadmap to take to the next level even more challenging right now too. So that leads back to all these things. Now it's the whole place is more challenging than ever. And you bring up some nice point about that as well too, about how to actually focusing and getting the right skill sets and communicating the skill set and building up those skill sets to actually address this problem. A lot of HR professionals and leaders want to do this thing to actually empower the business. Like a lot of HR directors already clearly recognizing right now, they need to play the role in terms of business growth. And to make the business grow, they need to do things differently. They need to build new capabilities. And to do things differently and capabilities, they often will need support and resources. And resource often comes with additional budget. And that becoming a challenge right now for HR leaders to get the support and the budget from the CEOs. And a lot of complaint coming from different HR leaders, the same is on, they're not getting the support of the CEO. You've been working with a lot of CEO, expat CEO, and also local CEO as well too. So what's your advice and tips for other HR leaders so they can actually learn and you can use those things to get the support from the CEO so they can actually implement those initiatives which they are thinking about will help their business to actually grow?
Well, this question, John, take me back to my time working with one of my former CEO. It was actually a rocky start from the beginning. But when I tried to, change the mindset and I helped him see HR differently, things start to transform into a more positive way. So let me share some of the reason why the CEO might push back on the HR initiative. I think the first one is that the alignment of the HR initiative with the business objective and also how to measure the return on investment. CEOs are all about bottom line. So if they don't see how HR initiative, boost, let's say, bring up revenue, cut cost, grab market share, then there's gonna be a no-go. They usually see HR stuff as, soft, kind of protecting employee too much. My CEO usually say that, hey Tiffany, you are so soft. Look at your initiative, all about employees. Don't you be standing at my shoes and looking at how difficulty the companies are facing with, all the deadlines and KPI from the global, from regional offices. Why we need to spend so much money on employees, benefit, well-being, and so on and so forth. So I think we need to get their buy-in by, first of all, link how the outcomes of those initiatives contribute to the growth of the business. Show them the numbers. We may talk about, this outcome may contribute to reducing turnover rate and, may boost up the productivity or create more happier customers for the organization. We may, use the data. Nowadays, CEOs, they don't want to see, all the theories or the long paragraph in HR proposal. They need to see, show me the data. How the data help the CEO to make the informed decision to have the business growth. I think the next one is the conflict in priorities. CEOs also swamped with all the demands, and they might think that sales and marketing and operations are more urgent than this kind of initiative. So how to get their buy-in? I think first one, we need to be very smart, strict. We need to make it right in terms of timing and prioritization. Try to fit the proposal, section or meeting with the budgeting timing or process of your organization, and start to focus on what need the most, what is more crucial in your long list of initiative, and bring it up. Try to bring in a sense of urgency and say to the CEO, what is the consequence if we don't act right now? So timing, prioritization is key. The next one is, show the cost effectiveness. Let's say CEO, if you spend money on this initiative, what we are going to save, what we are going to free up the manual work of the team. Instead of spending hours on this kind of so manual operational work. Let's say, for example, ask him to invest into a digitalized platform or systems. Putting all the data, example, and effect. I think another thing is about the trust and credibility. If the CEO doesn't trust HR judgment, right, they will never say yes. Maybe it's a past mistake from the former HR, or they just see HR at administrative function and not a business strategic partner. So that's also one of the reasons. I think first and foremost, like what I did to my former CEO, right? We need to build relationship. We need to build relationship with not only the CEO, but also with the leadership team, to get more buy-in from them, to get more influence from them, right? And we show our expertise, stay up to date with the market, and be a knowledgeable advisor to them whenever they need you. Be also becoming a coach to the CEO. I'm also a coach to my CEO as well. Obviously, he's my mentor and he's also my coach. But in some other cases, when he's been facing with a lot of problems in terms of people agenda or a headache with the other department people matters, then I might be his coach. So try to connect with him more and show him your values and expertise. The other thing is, whatever you tell him, you need to deliver the results. Work the talk. We don't need to focus on proposals, spending money, and then there's nothing happened. We need to show them the ultimate results. Consistently, meeting the KPIs, bringing the fact and figures that he would be feeling more comfortable in investing in to your proposal in the future. And I think as an HR partner, right, you should have a strong business acumen. You need to talk. You need to speak the language of the business and the CEO as well. Don't just keep saying about all the HR stuff only. And last but not least, don't try to fall in the trap of being an administrative partner all the time.
I'll tell you my own personal story. So recently I was speaking to a mentoring session with a few HR professionals, and they asked me, what should be the most important role of an HR professional they should do when they join a company? What is the most important thing? And I was thinking through to say a few of them, but they said, no, you have to say only the most important one. Then I just think through, it's very much related to your first point. My point was, to become really successful from now, the next 10 years in HR professionals, when you're joining HR department, you should be the biggest fan of the company. And what kind of fan? They asked me. So I said, just think about those fangirl for the K-pop singer. They're willing to even throw them off from the roof just for seeing one moment with their idol from Korea or K-pop. You need to be that level of fan. So that's the first step. And the second thing is when you become a fan like that of your company and you create more fan, the whole workforce for the company. And if you could do this one as an HR professional, you will be unstoppable. There will be no one who will be better than you in this HR professionals. And that's very much related to your number one point is actually, you say this one, you say, you were just saying so much about the employees. What is the company? The company is the more important. What is the company side? And the second point is about we need to, like, CEO is a coach of the HR. HR also need to coach the CEO too. And the common dilemma here, most of the HR professionals, not just simply confident to coach the CEO about their own HR factors. And the confidence doesn't come from the body language. The confidence does come with the age. It's about coming with expertise and also from the professional development too. So we asked almost 100 CEO to the head of HR and asked them that how confident you are to coach the CEO about HR-related matter. And the rating was pretty low, actually. Many of them, like almost 60% of say this one, they don't want to do this one. They just want to listen to it, and then probably they can consult. But they don't want to drive the conversations like a coach with the CEO of an HR factor. So there is a clear rules to be personal development and also about building expertise, which will come from the real work as well too. So that really back to the important point what you mentioned is about position yourself as a coach to the CEO about HR-related matter. And if you could do that one, that will help you to thrive forward in your career in present situation in business or in the industry.
Yeah, it is a very interesting point, John, regarding the becoming a fan of your organization, right? I think it's very resonate to what I've been, thriving my career so far in the previous organization. Let's say, for example, DHL was one of my companies in the past. It's already 10 years ago, but my love with the company is still here. I call it the passion or the fire that I've got with DHL, although it's already so many years ago. But as long as you have the fire in you, as long as you have the passion and the love for the company, even though you are not working for the company anymore, but the reputation, the brand of the company is still lasting, whenever you go. Like, I already joined so many companies after DHL, but whenever I go, I mention about DHL, like one of my biggest brand that I've been working with. So I totally agree with you that you need to be a big fan of your organization in order to create more followers, more fans, so that they can be joining you in making the organization a greater, workplace.
One of the HR directors was talking to her. She said this one, reading book is a skill. And I found out that actually is true. Learn how to learn is also a very important skill. And learn to read books is one of the skills inside learn how to learn.
Yes.
And if you could learn how to learn faster, and it's become a great advantage because then you are just improving yourself really, really fast.
Yeah. So initially, reading book is a skill, right?
Yeah.
But when times, progressing, it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, then you just open the book anytime without any external push from someone else, right? So make sure that you learn the skill to read book, and then you make it your habit, and then just follow, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you are facing with a problem and you want to solve the problem, but you cannot solve that problem with any of the support that you are having right now. And the only thing that helps you fixing the problems is one specific book. Then that's how things start.
Because the goal is about how do we inspire HR professionals to do their developments. Like, we talk to so many HR directors, like, they're really pushing their team to do some learning, but they don't want to learn. They just want to finish the work and go back home, take care of their kids, and come back to work. So just that operational mind, no evolving. And so finally, all the HR directors just fighting with this one. How do I change my team? I'm going to fire that person. But the person she's going to onboard, finally she's onboarding, amazing interview. And then as she's onboarding the company, as she find the probation period of time, it's the same person. We just rehired another person with a just different face. Because when I was writing the book, I was doing all the survey, and I found out that there were really little people actually read the book. And most of the people who are reading the book, reading their own book, like novels. Absolute waste of time. With due respect to all the writer of novels, why do I'm going to waste my time? If I'm really reading something, it should be about my life, not just entertainment. I can get the entertainment from everywhere right now. All right, Tiffany, we talked about some very important aspects. Like, we talk about positioning ourselves as a coach to the CEO. It's not just a one-day factor. It can be a years of compounding factor of developing expertise of an HR professional who can come to a level where they can actually coach the CEO on some subject matter aspect related to the HR. So it's just not a one-day thing. If anybody just expecting to do that on one day, it's not really possible. So the point is about how do I can actually develop all those skill set to become a coach to the CEO. So when we want to coach the CEO, so we want to build skill sets through conferences, reading books, or taking the conference, or learning different frameworks, and become so good at it and apply it in our different roles and different projects in our career. So finally, we have a really good specific knowledge, and based on the specific knowledge, we can always consult CEO. That's how I see this one. But I want to see your perspective. Like, why do you think that HR professionals, leaders should reading the books and studying the different up-to-date frameworks so they can actually build themselves, and how does it really help them to become successful in their career in this present era? How that can help somebody who are already a part of the HR career right now or becoming just a junior HR manager, how these two resources can help them to become successful in their HR professionals. Because probably there are many of them are aspiring to become a head of HR or director of HR in one day.
I think if we talk about learning and development framework, right? In order to acquire a new skill and master the skill, you need to, or this is my recommendation, or this is the recommendation that already, in place in the world for so many years, that the 10-20-70 framework, right? Where the 70% we already know, that's on-the-job training. The 70% that is the coaching, mentoring, and networking, right? The need-of-job training. And the 10%, although this is very little, just 10%, but this is so crucial. That is the official learning through training, seminar, workshop, through reading books. Although this occupies a very, minor percentage of the learning and development framework, this is very critical for you to getting the information officially from some trusted sources. Nowadays, social network and newspaper are everywhere. Or if you have a question, you can type in the chat GPT and you can get the answer right away. But are those information trusted? We don't know yet, right? Information is available everywhere. But how to make it a trusted sources so that you can, based on that, make it your, reliable reference in order to support to your work, and in order to make it a thing that you can start to apply it and make it a tangible result.
You mentioned about a very important aspect. It's about establishing yourself as the coach of the CEO, as the HR professional. And if anybody's just thinking that I want to be an HR coach, I want to become an HR coach for my CEO, it don't want to happen. No one is possible. It's like what you know for the rest of your life, what you have done until now, if the knowledge is so valuable and expertise is so high, the CEO will admire it and say, okay, I didn't know that one. That seems going to work. If the CEO felt like, that is the aha moment, if you can create in the CEO's mind, and that's the moment the CEO will say, okay, you can actually, I want to take your coaching. So now the point is about how can you build that level of skill sets. So the first aspect is about I'm going to keep working many, many years. But I will tell you right now, just working many years is not going to be enough anymore, because now the things are changing so fast. So one of the famous investor and VC, Raval Navik, talk about it, and I found it so valuable. Past is almost useless. Anything you know about the past is not going to be valuable at all, and because it's depreciated so fast right now, because future is changing so compound aspects, so almost every past is useless. So our experience becomes so less valuable. So now how do we can compete with that one, right? So to compete with this such kind of situation is about, we need to build an exponential knowledge, habit, and expertise too. Mm-hmm. And now to do this one is about, one of the things we find out is the valuable thing is Newton talk about. If you want to be successful, you have to stand on the shoulder of the giant. And I found that it's such a valuable aspect. Because he said this one, I can only see so far because I always stand on the shoulder of the giant. And now, who is Newton? He's one of the number one scientists all over the world, even he's died so many years ago. And now that is showing us that as a professional and expert, we always need to stand on our giant shoulder. And how can you do that? One of the easiest way we can do it is about reading their books. Because what they have learned for many years of doing research, many years of expertise, they package it all together and giving me a book, and I can almost get it for free. Means just spending a few Starbucks coffee, I can get it and I can get all the knowledge in my brain. I found that this is the biggest hack. I used to hate reading books, and when I knew that one, I said, oh my god, this is such a cheapest way I can get someone's expertise so fast. Yeah. And the second thing is about, when I'm reading book, I want to read books about just not to get motivated. Tell me the steps. I'm already motivated. I want to do things. I want to build myself. I'm going to get better. So tell me the steps. So I hate reading books like somebody saying, like Tony Robbins, who tried to inspire me and giving me a no, you don't need to inspire me. Just tell me the steps. I'm going to just go and just going to get it done because I want to make progress. I want to create a result out of it too. And the second leverage is about, all this expert often created different sets of frameworks. So I don't need to reinvent the wheel. If the wheel is already built up, already there, I'm just get it, plug in and play in that one too. And then I can get it better to the next level. When I see this one, I need a better wheel. So now, advantage and leverage is such two hands-on-hand things. As we need to move forward really faster, so we really need to take the advantage of those different frameworks and which is already created on there too. So now, I used to be a person who used to hate reading books. I still remember I was with a coffee with one of the CEO. He's an American CEO. He worked with one of my mentor. I studied on Stanford and technology entrepreneurship years back. And I was chatting with him, and he asked me that one question, John, what book are you reading right now? And I told him that I think books are out of date. I hate reading books. And he laughed. He was really wise, and he's really humble, because otherwise you should have all the guns to kill me in that corner. But he just asked me that, so what do you read? So I said this one, I don't want reading books. It's out of date. I like to read conference. I want to see advance the most cutting edge knowledge. So I like to see journal and conference publications, which give me the most up-to-date knowledge. And year back, I realized this one, I was so wrong in this conversation, because with the conference journal publication, I can have so specific pinpoint knowledge, but I will never have a holistic knowledge to make it big knowledge too. And that drive me to change to me to start reading a lot of books. And I set up a goal, I think a few years back, I want to read 100 books. At least I want to get the key knowledge of the 100 books. That was my goal and I will never stop until I do the 100 books. It took me a couple of years because some book I was reading slow, some book I was reading fast. It took me, after that when I realized this one, it's become a great advantage for me for actually reading all this book. And I ending up writing the books, 100 Business Workforce 2, which is also inspired by one of my mentors as well when I was having a conversation in the CEO. So now, lead me back to you on this one, on the book, because you are also one of the reviewer of the book, and you have to read the books as well, and one of the first reader of the book as well, because you reviewed it before it even been published as well. So based on your observation and study, how do you think that 100 Business Workforce can help HR professionals and the leaders?
So, John, first of all, I thank you for, sharing with me your writing journey, which is very much inspiring, and also the personal highlights that you put in the book. That really means a lot to me. So, thank you for that. I read through the book, and I, strongly recommend the HR professionals and also HR leaders to also read the book. I think there's a couple of reasons why. I think first of all, the book, this one, there's a lot of information about workforce strategies that you spend a lot of time and effort with your experiences that you put into this book. So. I think this is very crucial for the HR professional who want to become strategic HR partner rather than a administrative, normal HR officer, because you help them how to link and align the business goals into the HR objective initiative. How to translate the people agendas to help, boost up the performance of the business. That's the first and foremost reason why I would recommend people to read the book. Secondly, and this is what I like the most, is, the book offers very practical tools, frameworks, a lot of, files that you can download from your valuable resources. I think the ability for people to present data-driven recommendations from the book and the demonstration of the return on investment of all the HR initiative increases the influence within the organization. And I think the emphasis of the practical application is highly valuable for HR to advance their career. And I think thirdly, the book brings in the very hot topic that we've been talking during our podcast, and it's also what people are talking about it in this ever-changing world: workforce transformation, digitalization, automation, AI. This book also provides a HR transformation toolbox, which allows HR professionals to be better equipped with, all the necessary mindsets and skill sets for them to address the skill gaps. I think it provides a HR transformation toolbox which allows the HR professional to be better equipped with the necessary mindset and skill set to align workforce strategy with overarching business strategy and goals and objective. And this book focuses on skill development. This is very essential for career progression in the HR field, and also making us as the HR professional more valuable in the organization. So my top 3 cents for you to read this book.
So one of the biggest pain points was about a lot of books giving me ideas. Like an example, Start With Why. It's a very small books, and I was a fan of TED Talk back at the time. I ended up doing a TED Talk as well too. But so I found at the Start With Why. The book was nice, great. It gave me a lot of idea, but that's what becomes my problem. How do I execute that to my work? And that was become my problem too. And I realized this one that when I start writing the book, so that I position myself to think about how do I write a book which will be really not just giving idea, but it will help them to somebody to execute it. And that's the part you actually mentioned in your sharing. So Tiffany, thank you for actually giving you all the voice, giving you all the encouragement, and being part of the reviewer panel of the book too. It would not happen without all this encouragement and your support, without any doubt.
Thank you, John.
Okay, we have another question. This is typically for the leaders only. This will probably not be in a podcast. It will be a separate video. This part. You have 3 points. Just we can take one by one.
Or I can look at the screen.
Yeah. So. Yeah, this one you can typically look at the screen and do it because it's going to be a separate video. This is not going to be part of this podcast.
Okay.
So 100x Business Workforce is designed to help HR professionals. But when you look at the book, how this can typically help the HR leaders, how it can be a competitive advantage for someone who is reading the book compared to who actually not getting all the tools and frameworks of the book. What's your perspective on this one, Tiffany?
I think...
So we have a tradition in our 100x growth shows where one guest always leave a question for the next guest. And the previous guest left a question for you. And the previous guest is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. And he asked you this question. And probably this question will be really resonate to you a lot, Tiffany, because you work a lot on transformation and changing the organization structure too. So right now, the question is this. If you have the power, all the power to change one big thing, to change in the company structure, what is that one thing will you change?
That is a very exciting question, right? And I have so many answers for that. Actually, if I had the power to change one thing, one traditional things, right, about the company structure, what would it be and why, right? I think I would like to change everything. But if it drilled down to one thing, I think I would prioritize breaking down silos of the departments and also foster a cross-functional collaboration. Why I say so? I think I've been going through many organizations and there's a lot of departments in the organization, right? And sometimes we forgot that we are actually brothers and sisters of the same parent. We have our own, different KPIs and goals and objectives. And we are trying to make sure that our KPI are met, the deadline are met. Sometimes we forgot that we need to collaborate with each other because eventually, at the end of the day, it is the company's success and it's not just one success from your department. So there's a lot of silos in each of the department. And that leads to, the disruption of the business, the breakdown of the conversation, the disengagement of the employees. They usually not collaborate well with each other. There's a lot of debates and arguments in a lot of meetings of the departments, and that is not driving a healthy environment.
Thank you. Definitely, we will send this question to the CEO who led this question for you. So now we will take the tradition of our show, and now we will be leaving the question for our next guest. So there's a notebook there, and there's a pen. Please leave your question, notebook there, and a pen. Please leave your questions into the notebook.